My family owns this battered old 2011 Subaru, a car so stubborn it practically refuses to die. It's got every problem imaginable, brakes that feel like soggy bread, an engine that stutters when it's in a bad mood, and a dashboard full of lights that don't mean anything anymore. My parents keep saying they're just waiting for it to finally give up, but somehow the thing keeps crawling forward. Unfortunately, I'm the one stuck driving it. Among its many issues, the worst one is simple but deadly. The windshield wipers don't work. Not at all. A light drizzle turns the windshield into frosted glass. Driving in the rain is basically driving blind. But since I live in New Mexico, rain isn't exactly common. The desert rarely sees more than a sprinkle, so I never thought it would matter. This happened about 2 summers ago. I'd just taken a long solo drive to visit an old friend, Aaron, who lived a few states over. I hadn't seen him in years. The plan was to make the drive an adventure, long highways, open desert, music, and peace. The trip there went smoothly. I stayed a few nights at his place. We caught up, drank too much, and promised not to lose touch again. The drive back started fine too, until I crossed the state line into New Mexico. That's when the sky broke open. It wasn't just a drizzle. It was a thunderstorm, violent and sudden, the kind of rain that seems to fall sideways. Within seconds, I couldn't see 10 feet ahead. My useless wipers just scraped dry across the glass. I had no choice. I had to pull over. I eased off the highway and drove a bit into the open desert. I didn't want a truck hitting me from behind, so I parked near a cluster of rock formations, turned off the engine, and listened to the storm hammer the roof. I thought about calling for help, but between the cost, the distance, and the embarrassment, I decided against it. My parents were hours away. No one was coming, so I sat there in the middle of nowhere, hoping the rain would pass. Time stretched. An hour went by. Then another. Not a single car passed. The rain was relentless. That's when the feeling started, a strange unease that crawled up my spine. Like something was wrong? I couldn't explain it, but I suddenly had this gut-deep urge to move the car. To leave, except I couldn't, not in that rain. I started peering out the windows, trying to see through the sheets of water. All I could make out were shadows, rocks, sand, and nothing else. But the sun was setting and the desert was about to go black. I didn't want to admit it, but the thought of sitting there all night, surrounded by miles of empty nothing, terrified me. I'd heard enough stories about people who went missing out here, strange lights, ghost towns, people walking into the desert and never coming back. Just as that thought crossed my mind, the storm eased. Not much, but enough that I could see again. The world outside turned gray-blue in the fading light. It was almost beautiful, the sky glowing faintly, lightning far off in the distance. I was debating whether to risk driving again when I saw them. Flashes. At first, I thought it was more lightning, but these were different, sharper, closer, erratic. White beams flicking across the desert, jumping like they were searching for something. Then they started moving closer. My stomach dropped. I don't know why, but instinct took over. I grabbed my phone, shoved open the car door, and ran. I crouched behind a nearby rock formation, rain soaking me to the bone. From there, I watched. 3 figures emerged from the darkness, each holding a flashlight. They were walking slowly, their beams swaying wildly, almost drunkenly. They circled my car, shining lights inside, peering through the windows like they were looking for something or someone. Then one of them suddenly lifted a gun and fired into the air. The sound cracked through the desert like thunder. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stop myself from gasping. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. For what felt like hours, I didn't move. The rain masked my breathing, but I didn't dare peek again. When I finally did, the lights were gone. Total darkness. Then suddenly they were back, flashing again, closer, taunting almost. My hands trembled as I dialed 911. I whispered everything I could manage, that there were people with guns, circling my car in the middle of the desert. The operator told me to stay hidden. Help was on the way. Minutes dragged like hours, but finally, I saw it, faint red and blue lights approaching through the rain. The moment those lights appeared, the flashlights vanished. The figures bolted into the darkness. By the time the police arrived, they were gone. I stumbled out, drenched and shaking, waving my arms to get the officer's attention. He looked me over, listened to my story, and nodded like it wasn't the first time he'd heard something like that. He stayed until the storm passed and let me drive home instead of towing the car. I never found out who those people were or what they wanted, but I haven't gone on a road trip since. Sometimes when it rains at night, I still see faint flashes in my rearview mirror, and I can't help but wonder if they ever really left. I grew up in New Hampshire, about half an hour from Manchester. In my early 20s, I was in a strange phase of life, that quiet, drifting period after a breakup when you're just lost. I'd been with my girlfriend for 2 years, and after it ended, I wasn't really myself anymore. I'd started going to church every Sunday with my grandmother, mostly to keep her company, but maybe part of me was searching for something too, a sense of meaning, or maybe forgiveness. She was deeply religious, the kind of person whose faith didn't shake even after losing my grandfather. He'd been a respected veteran, the heart of our family. After he passed, she said she could feel his peace with God, and I think I wanted some of that peace for myself. One Sunday after the service, I met someone, a girl named Kaylee. It's still hard to explain how surreal that meeting felt, almost like it wasn't real. I'd never seen her before, which was strange, because everyone in that church knew everyone. She had deep hazel eyes, curly dark hair, and this calm, magnetic energy. I walked up to her after service, just wanting to say hello. What started as small talk turned into something that felt different. Familiar, but in a way that made me uneasy. She said she'd recently moved to the area and was studying at a college nearby. That explained why I hadn't seen her around. We exchanged numbers, and for the next week, we talked nonstop, texting late, sharing stories and getting personal fast. She told me about her family, how her stepfather was an abusive alcoholic, and her real father was even worse. She didn't say much about him, just that he'd done terrible things and they'd had to run. I didn't pry. I figured opening up was hard for her, and I respected that. By the next Sunday, I was honestly looking forward to seeing her again. She showed up, same quiet smile, same strange calm. After the service, I asked her out, and she said yes without hesitation. We went to a movie that Friday, nothing fancy. She was funny, sweet, and the conversation flowed easily. After dinner, I didn't want the night to end, so I asked if she wanted to take a drive. She agreed. We drove along a winding 2-lane road that cut through the woods. The air outside was crisp, and inside the car, the silence felt too still. That's when everything changed. Kaylee suddenly started speaking, but not in English. Her words came fast, like whispers layered over each other, and they sounded almost like French, but twisted somehow. At first, I thought she was joking. Then I looked at her. Her eyes had rolled back, showing only white. My heart dropped. I swerved, almost hitting the guardrail. I shouted her name, but she didn't respond. Her body began trembling, and she kept muttering in that same warped language faster and faster. I pulled over, hands shaking, grabbed my phone, and called for help. I told them I thought she was having a seizure, but deep down I knew something was wrong, something not medical. While waiting, I kept my distance but couldn't stop watching. Her head was shaking violently now, her voice low and guttural. Then suddenly, silence. She snapped her head toward me. Her eyes were normal again, but her expression, it was pure rage. She stared at me, unblinking. Breathing heavily, then, without a word, she flung the door open and ran into the woods. Full speed. No hesitation. No scream, just gone. I sat frozen in my seat, unable to move, replaying that inhuman sound in my head. When the cops arrived, I told them everything, even though I sounded insane. They searched the woods, found nothing. After that night, Kaylee disappeared completely. She stopped showing up at church. Her number was disconnected. Her Instagram, deleted. I asked around, but no one remembered her, not even the pastor. It's like she never existed. Sometimes when I drive alone late at night, I catch a glimpse of something in my rearview mirror, dark hair, pale face sitting in the back seat for just a second, before vanishing. And every time I whisper the same thing. Kaylee, where were you?